I think in the initial thinking of child welfare, we were trying to save children, trying to rescue them from their families. Today, we know that if we want to save children, we have to save their families. We know that intervening early makes a difference. We know that there are certain kinds of supports we can give parents early on to strengthen their ability to care for their children. What we don't know is how to get there.
There are some challenges and probably some frustrations around, yes, we know what good practice looks like, but the system's not making it that easy with the bureaucracies, with the limited resources. We want to really share actually that creative things are happening. People are finding ways to build effective programs that are really engaging families in new and different ways. The role of the Children's Bureau is really to both invest in that knowledge generation, but also disseminate it. We have this opportunity to learn along with these new, exciting strategies that'll really impact children and families.
Before I started the program, I was in a relationship for 6 months. He became very violent towards me, towards my kids. DHS got involved.
She's just trying to check in.
My children were removed from me for safety reasons. Pretty much they told me that I either left Joe or I'd lose my parental rights to my kids. Not because I was a bad parent, but he was not safe for them, and I wasn't able to keep them safe around him. So I ended up in a homeless shelter. That's when my DHS worker had told me about the program Push.
Can you tell me what it is? Something special?
I have never met a parent that didn't love their kid, who didn't want the best for their kids. They just have a lot of complex issues that they don't know how to sort through. They don't know how to navigate. And our system doesn't help because we make our system very complex. If you look at the research on homeless, the majority are young parents with young children. Our families have an open child welfare case. They are homeless or unstably housed, and they have multiple complex needs such as mental health issues, domestic violence, substance abuse. Families are housed within 14 days. They come into a furnished apartment. We don't want families to worry about furnishings, food, any of the basic needs we make sure are taken care of so they can solely focus on all these multiple needs they have.
I think having a roof over our heads and a place to come home to every night, that took a huge stress off. I was able to actually focus on what DHS had expected of me, where before I put off all of that because my main concern was, where am I gonna sleep tonight?
Our state, like many states across the country, are very fragmented in terms of how they deliver services. So we'll deliver mental health services here and domestic violence services here. What our project is trying to do, we have, our staff are called service coordinators, and they're the single point of contact for all the services that the families need. The DHS worked with us so the family sees one aligned plan that they have to do.
They lay it out very clear of what they want from you. Without the family team meeting, I think it would be chaos.
Sometimes either the family doesn't have the skills to listen and understand, or the team members don't have the skills to explain what the family needs to do. So as Push, we really just ask those hard questions. Where are we at and where do we need to go? Where does the family want to be? And how do we get there?
The family team meeting really is the key to developing the plan for the family, but also the over time constant review of the service plan to see where we are and to make adjustments and assure that we have all the right people at the table.
When I first started doing family team meetings, everybody in the room, they really make you feel like they're on your side and they want the best for you and they're going to help you reach your goals no matter what. When my kids were removed from trial home placement, I invited Kelly Kaufman, the county attorney, to my family team meeting for the first time ever. That's who the judge is going to listen to.
And I know that your focus is on getting the kids home, right?
Of course.
But remember, your bigger focus is to keep them home.
Right.
I think that therapy is very important, and I don't see the kids coming home without it. So I'm gonna push you on that, okay? I go to these family team meetings just to better help the families understand, from my perspective, what needs to be done in order to achieve those end goals that we all have in common. Have you seen a therapist?
No.
No.
I literally just started my job 3 weeks ago. I don't want to start off on like, guess what? I have this crazy busy schedule
totally agree
and
with you.
I'm not going to be
Yeah.
reliable. And
Having Kelly Kaufman there, being able to hear my voice, to understand the resources that I needed to be able to keep myself and my kids safe, it made a huge impact on my next court date.
the bus stop's running at 6 o'clock. Okay, I can probably get there on time, but how am I going to get home type deal? And
Correct me if I'm wrong, but NTS, you can schedule. It's important for the families to know that I'm a part of their team. Normally, I'm viewed as the enemy. Just the simple act of explaining to them that my goal is to help them makes a world of difference. Do you see any correlation between your life becoming more stable and now your children during the visits are more stable?
no Joe means nice kids.
I have a lot of parents that are really good parents. A lot of their adult issues get in the way of that. There's a lot of generational issues that I see.
Workers need to understand where that parent's at in their life at that moment. Knowing what their past history is, that I think how they were raised is a huge thing because it helps you understand maybe why they do some things that they do because that's all they've ever known.
Traditionally, we would sit down with the family and talk about all the things we know that they've done wrong and what they need to do about it. Go home and try that with your partner or your child. It's not very effective. So what we've learned through trauma-informed care, instead of asking the question, why did you do that? It's about what happened. What happened to you that you're in this spot?
So are you going to spin for me? What number is that? Okay.
We do have to ask families to make changes. There's no doubt about that. But when families aren't making changes, we take that responsibility. Nobody has a straight line from going here to there. It doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong. It just means our recipe for that family isn't cooked yet. And what we've learned over time, that there's no such thing as a resistant family. There are only resistant professionals. And we can never give up. We always have to expect success with our families. We never give up on that.
We expect parents to be the buffer between all the things that go on in a society and the development of their child. Parents are their children's first and best teacher. Everything in our society says that's how we want children to be raised. Unfortunately, today, we probably give a lot less support to parents that we might have done in the 1950s or the 1960s, when there was a greater sense of community. Now parents are on their own. They're out there. You're supposed to do it, and nobody raises their children on their own. Everybody gets help. Some of us are blessed with help in our own friendship networks, our own families, but for a lot of parents, they truly are on their own, and the job of prevention is to level the playing field, to make it okay for every parent to reach out and ask for help and know when they do it that there's going to be help for them.
Well, we believe here in Oregon that at least 50% of the kids that are currently in foster care would never have had to enter foster care at all if we would have been able to support their families to be able to protect and nurture them in meaningful ways. Our theory of change really begins with the premise that safe, stable, nurturing relationships, that really is the key social determinant of everyone's life prospects, and that toxic stress is the thing that interferes with safe, stable, nurturing relationships. What we've got are parents that are overwhelmed by the stresses in life. And what we know about the brain architecture is that when people get overwhelmed with stress, what gets triggered is fight, flight, and freeze. If we can get the support that they need to bring the stress levels down in their lives so that executive function kicks back in, then there's this ability to express the love. There's the ability to express the caring. The key is the focus on promoting the protective factors in the home and in the neighborhood right where people live. And when we promote the protective factors, they not only mitigate the source of stress, but they also help families and children to become more resilient to stress. It's important to find a neighbor connector who actually lives in the neighborhood because there's an automatic trust, I think, that happens when you can knock on a door and say, hello, I live in this neighborhood. And I'm really interested in making it a great place to live and a great place to raise kids.
The time that you wanted a GED, you can just let me know because I do know of different programs.
The Neighbor Connector begins by identifying families and individuals who are strong in the neighborhood and bringing them together, but then also reaches out into those neighborhoods to find the parents who are isolated.
I think a huge thing is neighbors. And that's what we're trying to promote at the Community Cafe is getting to know your neighbors, getting to understand that they might be going through the same thing. How is it that you guys can be helping each other? Thank you so much, Gwenny. Okay, bye-bye. At Washington Elementary School neighborhood, 97% are from Hispanic Latino background. And being second language learners creates a lot of different barriers and creates a lot of different stresses in the family. Queremos mejorar la vida de nuestros hijos, de nuestra comunidad. ¿Y cómo vamos a hacer esto? Conseguir reuniéndonos cada mes y para seguir hablando de los diferentes temas y haciendo diferentes cosas que podemos para mejorar nuestro hogar y nuestra comunidad.
And it's out of the Community Cafe meeting that people from the neighborhood make decisions about how they want to build protective factors into that neighborhood.
Estamos haciendo una clase de matrimonio ahorita porque ellos decidieron que querían esa clase porque los niños se están afectando cuando los padres se pelean, ¿verdad?, en la casa.
Todas las parejas tenemos conflictos. La situación es cómo manejamos esas diferencias.
A mí no me gusta que me estén diciendo lo que yo ya sé que tengo que hacer, ¿no? O sea, que me hablen como a un hijo.
All of a sudden, families are feeling like, oh, I'm not just coming to the Community Cafe because I need something. I'm coming to the Community Cafe because I'm a member of this community and I want this to be a great community.
¿Por qué está usted hoy aquí?
Primero que todo por tener a nuestros hijos aquí en la escuela. Creo que es un gran apoyo venir a estas reuniones.
We're concerned with making sure that our students are kinder ready. We've changed through working with Fostering Hope in connecting with our parents. We're able to start that relationship a year, 2, 3 years sooner. So now we're able to prepare much earlier on in the process. Instead of wishing we would have had this conversation 3 years ago, we're having it today.
Yo le leo a mi hijo todas las noches por media hora. Pásenlo 5 veces. Yo leo a mi hijo de vez en cuando, 2 veces. ¿Qué es lo que más les impactó? ¿Y qué aprendieron?
Que en los primeros 3 años el niño es cuando más aprende, cuando más se forma su cerebro y cuando más se desarrolla. Son los primeros 3 años la importancia.
When we support parents to protect and nurture their own children, it takes the stress off the child welfare system, it takes the stress off of the schools, and it takes the stress off of the healthcare system. Over the last 7 years, we've reduced the number of children in foster care in Marion County from 1,100 to the last count I saw, it was 580. So we know this works. And then when we find that there is a reduction in things like foster care rates, to be able to take the part of the money that isn't spent on foster care and reinvest it in scaling up the positive. I believe that that kind of a system would create a slow but steady balance of the money being spent on promoting positive development and strengthening families and still have the money that we need to be able to provide the treatment services for those who need treatment services.
We need organizations to ask themselves the disruptive question, will the way they approach the problems of child abuse ever reach the scale of the problem 1 out of 5 children will experience abuse before they grow up. In our current strategies, for the next generation, there's not going to be enough government money or donations to address the problem at this scale. There needs to be another way.
The Magnolia Community Initiative is a voluntary network of about 75 partners across different sectors that are primarily working with the same families, but the families are having to navigate a system of organizations that aren't actually talking to each other. We're trying to establish a shared vision for a population of about 110,000 people, 35,000 of which are children in the 5 square mile area, about 500 blocks in LA. You know, if somebody doesn't have a job, it can trigger depression, it can trigger child maltreatment, it can trigger homelessness. What we've tried to do with the Magnolia Community Initiative is say you can do your job better by understanding and knowing the workings of these other organizations in health, in education, elementary schools, in county services, our local neighborhood councils, businesses, and banks.
So the idea is that you're talking about these things consistently, even though it may not be related to financial literacy.
One of the things that we work towards with all of our partners is not only provide the service, but also ask an additional 3 questions around social isolation, maternal depression or family stressors, and child development concerns. We feel that those 3 questions are real proxies for deeper underlying issues. We're also saying you don't have to be the expert in that field. If you have a parent that has child development concerns, send them our way. We'll do additional screening. All you have to do is ask the question. And we, as a partnership, have stood up and said we'll support that family with the additional services.
Like, for example, the child development piece is one area where we're really low, and so we kind of started brainstorming about how we can start tweaking the conversations that we have with those parents in order for child development to come up.
I think our success really lies in the fact that all of our individual partners, especially those that are working directly with families, is that they have the permission to go beyond just the service that they provide and tap into all of the expertise and all of the other services within the network and really meet that client's need.
One of the issues that many of the partners have is that we provide families with information on where to go next. Someone comes into me and I find out that maybe mom could use some support or counseling, and I make that referral. I never know what happens with that referral. The warm handoff was this concept that some people are here within the building, and rather than saying, oh, call St. John's for counseling support, I could walk over to the person in St. John's and say, here, this is what I know about this family, and this is what I think you might be able to help them with today.
Segunda mamá. Hola, buenas tardes, ¿cómo está?
Y es del programa de
María Méndez para servirle.
The concept of a warm handoff was simple, it made sense to people, and again, I think they were able to see the effect on families and the effect on their referrals and the success of their referrals almost immediately.
All of this effort takes a new kind of culture. We don't know the answer. So therefore, we need to go into this with a mindset of how can we learn and figure out what the answer is and what works. And we cannot do this same thing for 3 years, then we'll test it to see if it works. We can't take that long. So we need something, what can you try by next Tuesday? What you're trying to do is get as many micro experiments going on at one time as possible so you can learn more quickly.
We're shifting data from something that evaluates performance to something that informs learning. And that feels very different to people because it really is about learning together and learning together for the sake of improving community outcomes.
We actually see the Magnolia Community Initiative as a learning community, a community that is reflective in its process, reflective in its testing, and reflective in its practice.
No program is going to fix families forever. You're just one part of what a family needs. So if we can't be comfortable operating in a collective environment where everybody does their share, I don't know how we build the kind of society we need to really give children what they need.
To help parents be nurturing and caring, you have to help them be healthy. You have to help their children be educationally successful. You have to take that cutting, sharp edge off of poverty so the family's not constantly under the pressure of survival. And it's the recognition of the interdependentness of those critical areas in our funding streams that would allow organizations to more, we say, holistically help a family be successful.
Policymakers and philanthropists, they have to understand how policy and money drives all of this. We really do get what we pay for. And so if we pay for foster care, we will get foster care. And if we can learn to pay for permanence, we will get permanence.
Traditionally, it's very difficult for these high-level departments to work together. But I think over time, as we're learning in smaller communities about what works, then we will have to turn to these larger systems to say, in order for us to sustain some level of what's working with these families, we're going to need these larger systems to work together.
Fundamentally, addressing child abuse and neglect is a public health issue. What we'd really love is to think about the pediatrician, the obstetricians, or the daycare providers, the teachers in the schools really seeing child abuse and neglect prevention as something that they're also owning.
Other organizations will come together to share in the ownership of this and in the investment, but that is the new type of leadership that we need that will allow us to get to the scale of the social conditions that we have.
When we change how we do things, when we are open to learning from families, and we bring forth the reason that we're all in this field, which is all about compassion and help, that families really do begin to make changes.